Ladies and gentlemen, it's Siadwel.
What, Siadwel? You're all wet again.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was... Hello. That's all from the Bible for tonight, although we might have a little bit of Leviticus later on. We'll see how it goes. Oh. OK. Well, most of the time I was at school, I learned absolutely nothing. And I can still remember most of it. That's the thing about education. Nobody can take it away from you. I can still remember when I started school, because we couldn't afford a uniform, but Mam managed to borrow an old one from someone in our street. So, my first day at school, I went to school dressed as an air raid warden from World War II. Yeah, it did stand out a bit. So, on my second day, I wore the gas mask so they wouldn't know it was me. But somehow they knew, yeah. Because if you didn't look like everybody else, people could be very unkind. There was one boy who always wore his Wellingtons to school, so everybody called him Kid Welly. We laughed. But we stopped laughing because his actual name was Gary Price. Yeah, and what Gary Price did, every time someone called him Kid Welly, he'd punch them and say, "I'm not wearing Wellingtons, am I?" And he'd keep doing that until they agreed with him. And then he'd say, "It's Siadwel who wears Wellingtons every day to school, isn't it?" Even though I didn't. I didn't even have a pair of Wellingtons. Shoes I had, although I could only wear one shoe at a time to save wear and tear. But the thing is, what Gary Price was doing, it worked. And they stopped calling him Kid Welly and started calling me Siadwelly. And Siadwellington. So I told Miss, and she said, "You don't understand what's going on, do you, Siadwel?" And I said, "Yes, miss, I don't." And she said, "Siadwel, you're a scapegoat." A scapegoat! And then I had to say, "Please, miss, what is a scapegoat?" And she said, "Siadwel, you can look it up. It's in the Bible. Leviticus." Yes! Anyway, when I learned to read about 20 years later, I did look it up, and a scapegoat is a goat who's had everybody's sins put on him. And then he's sent out into the wilderness, although why anybody would want to send a goat to Rhyl, I don't know. But Leviticus is very interesting. It's really, really helpful on things like food. For example, don't eat eagles, weasels, or ferrets. I follow that advice. And there's some excellent advice on fruit, which I read for you now. Here we are. It's chapter 19, verse 23. "And when ye shall come into the land, and shall have planted all manner of trees for food, ye shall count the fruit thereof as uncircumcised to you. It shall not be eaten thereof." First of all, I thought that was a bit mad. What's Leviticus on about with uncircumcised fruit that can't be eaten? You know, and then I got it. Of course, don't eat unpeeled bananas. So when Nan makes bananas and custard, that's why it's so nice. She peels the bananas. Oh, good old Leviticus. Anyway, I was telling you about Gary Price at school. And you know how boys sometimes wipe their nose on their sleeve or their jumper? Gary Price didn't do that. What Gary Price did was he used to wipe his nose on the sleeve of my jumper. He called me the human hanky. By the end of term, my jumper sleeve was so stiff, I couldn't bend my arm. When he sneezed, he trained himself to say, "Siadwel." I did think of changing my name, but I couldn't think of another one, so here we are. Another thing Gary Price did, he killed a bumblebee. Imagine, I killed a bumblebee. How could anyone do that? But being Gary Price, that's how. I was so sad. Yeah, I wrote a poem about it. It is. I've called the poem, "Gary Price is a very difficult person to avoid, but it's always worth making the effort." Yeah. Anyway, that's the title. Here's the poem. "I know he's really bad because he turned a bee into a was. He hates the way they fly and hum, and so it had to die and come to rest in the arms of sweet be Jesus, where insects go when they can't be resus. It did. Yeah. Of course, what do you want, really, with someone like Gary Price as a big brother to sort him out? And I was an only child. Well, no, nearly an only child. I had a half-brother. Well, half a brother, really. Just the bottom half. No, and he was so unlucky because not only did he not have a top half of his body, he was dyslexic as well. So at school, you know, he wasn't very academic. Half, that's his name, you know. But he's great. He was really good at sport, loved his rugby, scrum half. Of course he was. Of course he was, yeah. No, he left school with no qualifications, but he got a job as a bouncer. Any trouble, he'd kick him out. Perfect job for him. Perfect. Another thing he did was a sort of freak show where he'd charge people money to come round to the house and watch me trying to do my homework. Yeah, oh, it was great. Yeah, I really looked up to him. Well, no, you know what I mean, you know. Very popular with the ladies. Not much of a conversationalist, obviously, but, well, his nickname was Tripod, so... Yeah. But one day it had to happen. He crossed the road without looking. How could he? He didn't have a top half of his body. And he was knocked over. A woman called 999, which is an odd name, really, when... Yeah. Anyway, she phoned for an ambulance, but it was too late. But and this tells you something about what sort of person Half was. Before he died, he said to me, "Siadwel, I want to leave my legs to medical science. It'll be my legacy." I know. But all I've got to remind me of Half is one photograph of him that I took. Thought a very good photograph. He's sitting behind the desk. You know, can't really... But I know he was there. So there we are. I didn't really have a big brother to help me with Gary Price. And you'd think, with people like him, once you've grown up and left school, it'd be all right. But it wasn't. I'll tell you what happened. I'd gone to the local library, books all piled up everywhere. They were going to put them on the wall where you could see them, but that plan was shelved. So there we are. I know, they should have done. Anyway, I was reading a book about how to keep warm. And basically it says, go to the library. Even better, go to the library and sit next to the radiator, you know. But there was a really good chapter on vests. And I just started looking at it when Gary Price came up to me and he said, "Siadwel, hold this book for me, will you?" And I did. And the next thing I knew, I was being arrested by the police and taken to court. And I said, well, I didn't do it, whatever it was, but I was found guilty of defacing a library book by Tipp-Xing out all the full stops. The judge said anybody doing that sort of thing should expect a long sentence. Yeah, so I ended up in Swansea jail. And you know all those terrible stories you hear about people spitting in your food and doing sexual things. Not very nice, really. When I was in prison, all that stopped happening to me. It was great. Best years of my life, which tells you something about my life, I suppose, isn't it? Of course, what everybody in prison wants to do is escape. So, some of them decided to dig an escape tunnel. It was a good idea. Where they went wrong was applying for planning permission. Didn't get it. No, health and safety, I expect. Anyway, there we are. And there were people in prison who were addicted to things. And I'll tell you, no, there's one thing I never want to be addicted to. Cold turkey. No, if you could have seen the people in there doing cold turkey, you wouldn't go near it, believe me. And when you're in jail, of course, when you're in jail, it's very easy to lose contact with the outside world. So it was good. My girlfriend Gravel wrote to me now and then. You know, it wasn't always good news. In fact, never. Yeah. No, she did. She told me she was seeing other men. As she put it, she said, Siadwel, it's important for everyone to have their 5 a day. And I make sure that I do. So, yeah, she'd be down the pub picking up men, chucking them about, you know. She's big, Gravel, big. But she's not obese. No, not obese. No, one of the other prisoners asked me what she looked like, and I said, why, it's a girl next door, really. But more next door than girl. Yeah. Talking about the outside world, you know how at the zoo you can adopt an animal and get a photograph of it and a certificate and all that? And I used to do that. And then when I went to prison, I was quite surprised to find that I'd been adopted by a family of monkeys. Yeah, I suppose they felt a bit sorry for me, you know, behind bars, all that sort of thing. And they had a photograph of me, and every month they send me a bunch of bananas and a bag of nuts at Christmas. So after a while, I wrote to the monkeys just to tell them how I was getting on, you know, and how much the bananas reminded me of Nan's bananas and custard. Except, of course, Nan's bananas didn't have bits of monkey poo on them. No. And perhaps I shouldn't have mentioned that, because after that, the bananas stopped coming. No, well, I didn't know monkeys could read. If I'd known that, I wouldn't have written to them. Yeah, it was thinking about Nan's bananas and custard that kept me going, really, in jail. So when I got out, the first thing I did was go round to Nan's. Hello, Nan. What's for pudding?
Bananas and custard.
Oh, my favourite.
Oh, Siadwel. I haven't got any custard. Will milk do?
Oh, that's fine, Nan, that's fine.
Oh, Siadwel. You won't believe this. We're out of milk as well. I just put water on it, shall I?
OK, Nan, lovely.
Oh, Siadwel.
Yes, Nan?
You haven't got any bananas.
Oh, don't worry, Nan, I'll just have the water.
Here you are, Siadwel. I put a couple of carrots in the water just to make it nicer.
Oh, it's spoiling me, Nan. Lovely. Nothing like bananas and custard made by Nan. All right, let's finish now with another little poem. This one is called Smile. Somebody said that a smile given is always returned. And it's true. I smiled at Gary Price's girlfriend, and he returned most of my teeth in a bag. Cheerio. OK, well, that story was called Gary Price. Before we do the next story, I'm just going to read a little poem for you. So this is a haiku called The Roughest School in Swansea. They taught the 3 R's, which were reading and writing, but also arson. Oh, yeah, thank you very much. OK, time for the next story. This one is called Valentine's Day. Hello. In Swansea, you never know what's going to come through your letterbox. Mostly it's male, although on one occasion it was female. People still talk about that. Anyway, Nan certainly wasn't expecting what came through her letterbox on Valentine's Day. It was a Valentine's card. Now, Nan is broad-minded. She's travelled all around the world, She still hopes that one day she'll be the first grandmother on the moon. She said to me, Siadwel, just think, it'll be one small step for Nan, one giant leap for Nankind. Anyway, the point is, Nan has been around, but she thought that getting a Valentine's card at her age is inappropriate, particularly with the rhyme that it had in it. And I'll read it to you. Here it is. You're like a flower, I am a bee, and I thought that you should know this. I'd like to probe inside your bloom with my great big hairy proboscis. It's too much, isn't it? Nan said it gave her the creeps, which is a bit like the runs, only a little bit slower, you know. And you know, she's got a point. She's an old lady. I asked her once, I said, Nan, how old are you? She said, 35 in centigrade. No, she prefers centigrade because in Fahrenheit she's 94. And it's quite a difference, isn't it? Yeah. And she's on her own, you know, she lives on her own because, well, Grandad always said when he got old, he didn't want to be a burden. And Nan said, don't worry, you won't be. And he wasn't, because she threw him out. Yeah, no, what it was, I feel quite sorry for him, because he was having trouble dressing himself. That's what he told the police anyway, when they found him. When they found him in the bushes with his trousers round his ankles. And his eyesight was getting really bad. That's what he told the police anyway, when they found him in the bushes with a pair of binoculars. And he was getting confused. That's what he told the police anyway, when they found him in the bushes with an electric kettle. He really was getting confused. But Nan just got fed up with him, you know. They'd stopped getting on. He was going to go into hospital because he'd got a lump on his hip. Actually, it turned out to be rather a lot of loose change in his trousers pocket, so didn't have to go into hospital after all. But Nan had already embroidered "Do not resuscitate" on his vest. So he had to move out. But I like Grandad, I like him, because we had something going on. He sold me a seagull. He said, Siadwel, it's a good investment. So I gave him the money, £0.50. This is quite a while ago now, so for younger listeners, £0.50 is 2 and 6. I gave him the money and he said, thank you, Siadwel. Do you see that seagull on the roof over there? Yeah, that's your one. Anyway, back to the story. Nan was a bit upset about the Valentine's card, so I thought I'd see if I could find out who sent it. But first, I had to write a Valentine's poem for my girlfriend, Rhyl. Well, she says she's my girlfriend, and who am I to argue? So I thought, right, I can't go wrong with the poem if I base it on one of Shakespeare's sonnets. And the one I chose was, well, I'll read it to you now. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease was all too short a date. Lovely, isn't it? Not very Welsh. And I don't know how he knew about the TV series, The Darling Buds of May. But he was a genius, you know. And if Leonardo da Vinci could predict helicopters, I don't see why Shakespeare couldn't predict a TV series. By the way, a lot of people think that Leonardo da Vinci was Italian, but Nan says he was Irish. Leonard or da Vinci. Have to say it right. Okay, so here's my Valentine's Day poem for Rhyl, based on Shakespeare's sonnet. Shall I compare thee to Swansea Bay? I don't mean thou art big and wet and full of fish, but that, unlike Catherine Zeta-Jones and the Darling Buds of May, thou art still local, like half a pound of cockles in a dish. There we are. Well, to say that Rhyl liked it would be completely wrong. Oh, I had to hide in the bathroom for a week. Thought it'd be all right in the bathroom because she never goes in there. But no, she was just going past the door and it was Siadwel. I knows you're in there. I can hear you listening to Pig of the Week on Radio Wales. So I turned the radio off. But she still knew I was in there. I don't know how she does it. And I've known her a long time. We were at school together. In fact, one of the very first things she said to me at school was that she liked older men. And I said, I was just to impress her, I suppose. I said, yeah, I like older men as well. Of course, she was thinking of Mr. Pugh, the PE teacher. And I was thinking more of Father Christmas, really. Yeah. She was never quite the same as everybody else, Gravel. When all the other girls started wearing makeup, Gravel started putting on camouflage paint. You know, green and brown stripes across her face. She told me why.
Siadwel. I don't get no boyfriends by making yourself all pretty. Who gets a boyfriend by hiding behind a tree? And when a boy walks past, who jumps on him? Then he's your boyfriend. And when he's empty, who gets another one, innit?
So I suppose, in a way, I brought Gravel out of herself, but perhaps I should have left her in there instead. Never mind, it's too late now. She's what you call a bubbly personality. When she's excited, she foams at the mouth. Yeah, no, first time I noticed that was on our very first date. She was really excited. And you know when you put salt on a slug? It was a bit like that. By the way, if you ever thought of putting pepper on a slug, don't bother, they still don't taste very nice. Anyway, first date, she rubs her hands and says, "Right, Siadwel, you'll never guess what we're going to do tonight." And she was absolutely right. I never did guess what it was, even though she made me do it 6 times. And judging by the looks on their faces, nobody else on the bus knew what it was either. And then after we'd done that, she did something completely disgusting with her tongue. She licked my glasses. Oh. I suppose you could say that I was an incurable romantic until Gravel cured me. I asked her once how much she loved me, and she said, "Siadwel, if you ever left me, I'd break your legs." So, I know where I stand with Gravel, and I'm very grateful that I can, quite honestly. Anyway, who sent the Valentine's card? I wanted to find out, and I'm really good at finding things. No, I am, because when I was little, I'd come home, and Mum would say, "Siadwel, shall we play hide and seek?" And I'd go, "Oh, yes." And Mum would say, "All right, Siadwel, close your eyes and count to 20, or as close to it as you can get." And then, when I opened my eyes, they'd moved house. It would take me weeks to find them. It was brilliant. Oh, and another game I played with Mum was called Holding Your Breath Until You See Jesus. Yeah, Mum was always suggesting that we play that one. And she was really good at it. You know, she'd only have to hold her breath for about 2 seconds and it'd be, "Oh, there he is. And I'd be there holding my breath for ages and going all dizzy and falling over, and I never saw Jesus. Except for once. And this time everything had gone dark. And I was sort of flying down a tunnel with a light at the end. And I came into the light and it was all peaceful. And there was this figure standing there sort of radiating kindness. And I said to him, "Are you Jesus?" And he said, "Yes. But can you come back later, because I'm on my break just now." Yeah, but I was getting somewhere with the Valentine's card. I found the envelope, it came in, and I had a look at the postmark. And suddenly, it all made sense. It was posted in Rhyl. 70 years ago, which was during the war. When Grandad was a sentry at the prisoner of war camp up there. So it was Grandad who sent the card, and it took 70 years to arrive. But I suppose there was the bank holiday, so yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Grandad used to talk about his wartime experiences quite a lot, actually. He said the conditions were really primitive. Living in wooden huts, no running water, only the one toilet everybody had to use, and things weren't much better in the prisoner of war camp. No, he said the main problem wasn't stopping the prisoners tunnelling out. It was stopping people from Rhyl tunnelling in. But don't get me wrong, Rhyl is an incredible place in its own way. You know, it's got loads of history. They had an archaeological dig there recently and found stuff from 10,000 years ago. And the amazing thing is, it's exactly the same as what they've got now. Yeah, here's another thing Grandad told me. He said, Siadwel, if ever you're driving along, you see someone hitchhiking to Rhyl, do them a favour, run them over. Well, there we are. Found who sent the card, and Nan was really pleased. Hello, Nan.
Oh, Siadwel. You were such a clever boy working it out. Your old Nan don't like filth, do she?
No, Nan, that's right. Oh, well, I'm off to bed now. Good night, Nan.
Night, Siadwel. Kiss you, Nan. Good night now.
Oh, all right, Nan.
Do it properly, Siadwel. On the lips.
Oh, sorry, Nan, sorry.
And the tongue, Siadwel. Don't forget the tongue.
Oh, yeah, okay, Nan. Good night, Nan. Here's your teeth back.
Good night, Siadwel.
Good night.
Siadwel was written and performed by John Sparks and produced by Pete Bakey. It was an Absolutely production for BBC Radio Wales.
Oh, Siadwel, you are hopeless.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Siadwel.
Siadwel, you're all wet again.
Hello. I thought I'd start with a joke. Psychiatrists say that a Swansea man who was calling the AA more than 30 times a day is suffering from a breakdown. No, it's just a joke. It's not real. He's fine. Don't worry about him. I saw him last week in his car. It's a Welsh car. It's a Schenkin. Schenkin Wasp. No, it's a good car. Top it up with oil every 2 weeks and it's away. It's great, man. Don't worry about him. I don't think psychiatrists should make jokes like that. I had another one the other day about a man who thinks he's a piece of luggage. Psychiatrists say he's the strangest case they've ever seen. It's a joke, but I feel sorry for him. You know, going on holiday must be a nightmare. Anyway, I thought I'd start with a joke because the first poem is a bit sad. It's called A Death in the Family. Yeah, it's a haiku, so it's very short. Haiku, here we go. Death in the Family. Farewell, cold, wet nose. No longer sniffing bottoms. R.I.P., Grandad. No, he'd got one of those autoimmune diseases where your body turns against itself, and with him it affected his teeth. They just started biting him. There was nothing anybody could do, and when he died, he was so badly chewed, he actually looked better after he'd been cremated. It's so sad, because he was a very sociable man. He loved to see people enjoying themselves. In fact, he would often go into people's gardens quite late at night with a stepladder and a pair of binoculars, just to make sure they were having a good time, you know. Anyhow, we scattered his ashes at his favourite spot in Swansea, on the little hill just overlooking the nurses' hostel. Yeah, and then it was back for refreshments at Club Merched Noeth, the Welsh language strip club. No, Grandad was the chairman of the members' committee. But he was also involved in trying to get pole dancing accepted as a cultural activity at the National Eisteddfod, where he was a bard. Oh, he'd been bard. I don't know if... Something like that, Anyway, everybody was there having something to eat and saying nice things about Grandad. Mostly they were just having something to eat, actually. But I did hear the vicar say something about Grandad that was really interesting. He said that as a Welsh speaker, Grandad was guaranteed to go to heaven because Welsh is the language of heaven. I didn't know that. And I asked the vicar, and he said, oh, yes, it's a well-known fact among vicars. Wales is the only country God specifically created. It's there in the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, verse 21, and God created Wales. No, I looked it up later on, and there it is, Wales. Wales is spelt with an H, but God was probably dictating it, and his secretary wrote it down wrong. But the undertaker, he'd never heard of that either. Evan the undertaker, yeah. Sign on his shop window says, when you die, make sure you go to heaven. I asked him once, Evan, why are there so many dead flies in the window? He said, if we had dead people in the window, there'd be complaints. Dead flies, nobody minds. Must be tough being a fly, though. Nobody loves you, apart from spiders. And that's for all the wrong reasons, really, isn't it? Anyway, I was at school with Evan, and we were talking about the old days, and he said, oh, do you remember the nature table? And I said, oh, yes, the nature table. Then everybody would bring stuff in for it, conkers, bird's nest, Wellington boot full of tadpoles. Gary Price brought that in, yeah. And whatever it was that had been brought in, Miss would give us a lesson on it so we could learn about nature. Then one morning, we came into school, and there, on the nature table, was a naked man. Dead. So we had a lesson about naked men. What they eat, where they live, all that sort of thing. And Miss pointed out that an interesting feature of this naked man was the bread knife sticking out of its neck. She said, not all naked men have one of those. But if they do, it usually means that their girlfriend has caught them in the back of a car with another lady. It was fascinating. And she told us the important thing to remember is that the life cycle of this kind of naked man is quite short. She also mentioned that the police wouldn't find any fingerprints on the bread knife. And sure enough, when the police came, they didn't. I don't know how she knew. It was amazing. She's a really good teacher. And Evan said it was that got him interested in death, really. And he started telling me about the business, and he said, now, Siadwel, did you know there are 5 stages of bereavement? Disbelief, sadness, acceptance, loneliness, and finally, anger, when you get the bill for the funeral. Quite an expensive way to go, really, dying. So I said, oh, well, yeah. I said, oh well, good business to be in then. Well, that set him off.
No, Siadwel, no, it's an appalling business to be in. That's what it is, man, appalling. It's too competitive now, man. Do you want to know what's just happened? I'll tell you. Have you heard of an undertaker's called Drop Dead Gorgeous? Of course you haven't, but you will, Siadwel. Slogan, wake up and smell the coffin. Big London company in Swansea now, and we can't compete, man. Can't compete, we can't. They do 2 for 1. We can't compete. It's a magazine. It's like Hello magazine, but it's called Goodbye. Everybody wants to be the centerfold. Can't compete, man.
Oh, that's terrible.
It is terrible. Terrible is what it is, Siadwel. And they do all sorts of things. Have you been up the graveyard recently?
I have. Oh, was that them on the gravestone? In this grave, Mrs. Thomas lies. A funeral sponsored by Gwillim's Pies.
That's it. And in the paper, we're getting stuff like this. Dying to make a fortune? Why not die to make a fortune? Look what death did for Elvis. He's richer now than he's ever been. So drop dead, 'cause you're worth it.
Evan, that's awful. And there was another, I just remembered there was another gravestone as well. Buried here is Mr. Bowen. At 59, too young to be going. With health insurance, he'd be alive and well. Instead, he's in a box and starting to smell.
That's it. Shocking it is, man. That's what it is. Shocking. I'm not trying to be funny, Siadwel, but for traditional undertakers, it's a dying business.
Well, I was a bit depressed after talking to Evan, so on my way home, I popped into the pet shop to cheer myself up. Because I like animals. When I was little, I had a stick insect called sellotape. I called him that because they're both sticky. Yeah. He didn't do much, but they loved him. And Mum said, oh, he's very dull. Why don't you teach him to do some tricks like a dog? Get him to fetch a stick. Yeah, I thought he might be offended by that, but I did think, yeah, all right, I could teach him to do that other thing the dogs do, roll over on his back. And it took months, but in the end, he did it. Never did it again. Never did anything again. After a while, Mum put him in the bin. And I was so upset. I got in the bin with him. And then on Monday morning, when they came to empty the bins, the bin man had the shock of his life. He opened the lid and he went, "Good God, look what's in here with all the rubbish. A stick insect." I've never had much luck with animals. I had a guinea pig once. But the trouble with them is they don't live very long. By the time I'd got him home from the shop and opened the Tupperware box, he was dead. I used to play with next door's dog, but it didn't matter what we played. He'd always win. Anyway, I was in the pet shop and Mr. Gossainen had got something new. Bilingual budgies that speak English and Welsh. And suddenly I thought, yes, a bilingual budgie would make a great present for Nan, because unlike Grandad, she's not a Welsh speaker.
How are you?
Very well, thanks. So, with a bilingual budgie teaching her Welsh, when the time comes, it'll be straight to heaven. And then I thought, if Evan the undertaker gave a bilingual budgie to every pensioner in Swansea, he'd get all his customers back from Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Hey, Mark, where's the toilet?
What, just do it on the bottom of the cage. Anyway, to cut a long story short, Evan bought up all the bilingual budgies in Swansea, and sure enough, his customers started coming back. Then Drop Dead Gorgeous decided they'd offer their customers bilingual budgies as well. But because Evan had bought out all the Swansea ones, they had to go to London. And as it turned out, the two languages their budgies spoke were English and French. But nobody realised it was French. Drop Dead Gorgeous and the pensioners who got the budgies thought it was Welsh. There was a lot of confusion. One woman heard her mother talking French and took her to hospital because she thought she'd had a stroke. And nobody realised they were speaking French until the vicar explained it to them in his sermon on Sunday. And then things got really bad, because he went on to say that while Welsh is the language of heaven, French is the language of the devil. It's there in the Bible again. Revelations chapter 16, verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs. Well, there was pandemonium in Swansea. Hundreds of pensioners convinced they were going to hell, trying everything to get the French language out of them. Turned out the best way to get the French out was to learn Welsh. So everybody wanted one of Evan the Undertaker's bilingual budgies, and nobody wanted anything to do with Drop Dead Gorgeous, so they closed down and moved back to London. And now everybody in Swansea can look forward to a happy ending. Right, let's finish off with a joke now. Here we go. Please say the 3 armed men who robbed a bank in Swansea will be easy to recognise because they've got 3 arms. Yeah, It's just a joke. Honestly, no bank robberies in Swansea are carried out by perfectly normal criminals, same as you and me. Well, you anyway. OK. No, come on. OK, here's another joke. Last joke now. Magistrates have told a Swansea man who stole fireworks by hiding them up his bottom that he'll be let off. Anyway, that's it. I'm off now. Bye. OK, well, that was called Death in Swansea. But before the next story, I'm just going to read a quick poem. This poem is an ode, sort of thing that Keats used to write, you know, ode to a nightingale, that sort of stuff. OK, so this one is called Ode to a Friend. £20. Not sure when I can pay you back. Oh, yeah, thank you very much. OK, next story now. This one is called Christmas. A dog is not just for Christmas. You can have it cold on Boxing Day as well. Yeah, Gary Price told me that. I think he meant it as a joke, but you can never tell with him. I saw him in the chip shop last night, and when the woman asked him what he wanted, he said, well, I was breastfed as a baby, but I don't think I could eat one now. So I'll just have cod and chips. He is weird. And the man behind me in the queue was a bit weird as well. I was just standing there and he started pushing me in the back and turning his hand at the same time. And he kept doing it. So in the end, I turned round and I said, excuse me, are you winding me up? And he said, yes. Oh. No, but not even weirdos like Gary Price and that man can put me off when it's Christmas in Swansea. My favourite bit is the decorations in the city centre. Last year, instead of a tree, they had a 100-foot-high inflatable Catherine Zeta-Jones. It looked amazing. Gravel says she's the most beautiful woman in the world. But I say, no, Catherine Zeta-Jones is the most beautiful woman in the world. Anyway, unfortunately, what happened was some seagulls pecked a hole in Catherine Zeta-Jones's bottom. And she just blew off in front of everyone. You know, like a balloon before you've knotted the end, except it wasn't a balloon. There's a 100-foot-high Catherine Zeta-Jones flying down the high street at 100 miles an hour. It was pandemonium. Old Mr. Gaki said he'd never been so scared in all his life, and he's been to Rhyl. No, it's such a shame because up until then, he was Catherine Zeta-Jones's biggest fan. He had all the merchandise, Catherine Zeta-Jones egg cosy, Catherine Zeta-Jones slippers. He'd even got £half a pound of Catherine Zeta-Jones chipolatas for his Christmas dinner. He had to throw it all away. Because anything to do with Catherine Zeta-Jones just terrified the life out of him. The only thing he kept was a Catherine Zeta-Jones tea towel, which he hung on the door of the lavatory. It helps with his constipation. It took a week to track down the deflated Catherine Zeta-Jones, but they did find her, draped over a Keep Left sign halfway up Glen Close. She's still there. Somebody said it's probably what she'll look like when she's old, so they left it as a tourist attraction. No, I was reading about it in The Welshman, because I'm the sort of person who reads the same newspaper every day. Nearly finished it. Looking forward to starting another one. But newspaper headlines can be very confusing, can't they? I saw one that said, man eating tiger seen in Rhyl beauty spot. And it was actually about a man eating a tiger. But what really surprised me was that there's a beauty spot in Rhyl. But there was another odd headline as well. Missing pensioner found in sandwich. What it was, a pensioner on a coach trip to Sandwich in Kent got lost and then they found him. Mind you, if it had been in Rhyl, it probably would have been a pensioner in a sandwich. You know, they eat tigers. Pensioners are not going to put up much of a struggle, are they? Anyway, I was talking about Christmas. And the one thing I really looked forward to was Christmas Eve, when it would be all cold and dark outside, and Mum would look out of the window and say, "All right, Siadwel, you can come into the house." Just for tonight, mind. And later on, I'd get into bed because it's Christmas and I was allowed on the furniture. Anyway, Christmas morning, I'd wake up, still in the bed, which was always a relief. No, I'll tell you. Because, no, if you go in the graveyard of St. Church... there's a gravestone there that says, "Here lies Mrs. Sponkin Davis, who fell asleep on the..." And then there's a date. But she fell asleep, and they buried her. I told old Mr. Gacky, and he was so worried that now he counts sheep every night to keep himself awake. I know counting sheep usually sends you to sleep, but he's got the sheep in the bedroom with him, so... He never sees his family, doesn't want to. Too many times he's read in the paper he died surrounded by his family. Yeah. If they hadn't been there, he might have got away, you know. And as if that wasn't enough to worry about, he'd got the post-Catherine Zeta-Jones traumatic stress disorder as well. Oh, poor old soul. Anyway, I go to St. Graveyard quite a lot, because I like the gravestones. And my favourite one, I got a poem on it, which I'll read for you now. It goes like this. "Here lies Johnny Liar, died in the blaze when his pants caught fire. His name wasn't Johnny, it was really Bill. Lied all his life, now he's lying still." Yeah, a popular one, that. It's one gravestone of the year, 43 years running. Anyway, I was talking about Christmas morning, and I think the best present I ever got was an action man. You know, there's all sorts as you can get, a deep-sea diver, mountaineer. And the one I got was the Action Man Deserter. I opened the box. He'd gone. I spent the rest of Christmas looking for him. Never found him. He got clean away. Oh, it's brilliant. Oh, and I know what it's like, because I'm a deserter as well, from the Cubs. No, I joined for all the usual reasons, the uniform, the travel, all that. But there was something about the 666th Swansea. When we were at camp, and they'd got this big campfire going, and the boys who were doing their handicraft badge had made this wicker man. I say man, but it was about my size, actually. And then I overheard one of them saying, "Yeah, probably all that'll be left will be his woggle." And I got a bad feeling about it, because I know their motto is be prepared, and I didn't like what they were preparing. So I ran away. Same thing happened to Gravel in the Brownies, except in her camp it was all the others that ran away. Anyway, the thing is, now I'd got a price on my head. Gary Price, his idea of a joke. Because, no, when he got off and I got up, he told me the Cubs were after me. And I was wanted, dead or alive. But preferably both. And Arkela was offering a community service badge as a reward. Well, I managed to avoid them until that winter. And then they spotted me. But just ahead of me through the snow was the church of St. And I thought, yeah, if I can get in there, perhaps I'll be all right. I like St. No, he's the patron saint of... Well, you know when you're just tucking into a lovely big lamb oggy, and there's that moment when you suddenly realise that you've actually got a mouthful of pastry and gristle? He's the patron saint of that. Saint... Anyway, just ahead of the pack, I ran into the church, slammed the door shut and bolted it. But now I was trapped. I didn't know what to do. And for the first time in my life, I looked up in a church and said, "If there's anybody up there, please help me." And as I said that, there was a great rushing sound from above. And suddenly, all the shouting and noise from outside fell silent. After a minute, I opened the door and looked out. And where the 666 ones had been, there was a huge pile of snow. And I thought, it's a miracle. there is somebody up there. And there was. It was my dad nicking lead off the church roof. Yeah. No, I'd realised he was involved in crime when he started singing alibis instead of lullabies. But he wasn't a very successful criminal. He was in a gang who only ever committed crimes in Welsh. But that's no good if you're robbing a bank in Swindon. Anyway, the Cubs didn't know it had been my dad, so after that, they left me alone. Sorry. I think I've got a toenail stuck in my throat. No, what it is, Gravel bites her toenails. But she's put her back out, so now I have to do it. Bit like Cheesy Watsits, really. But... No, but I'll tell you how she injured her back. We went to the ballet, you know, Ballet Swansea, or Ballet Swansea, as they prefer to be known. Every year, they do a Christmas show. Last year, it was a version of Swansea Lake. About a young man who falls in love with an enchanted shopping trolley that he sees stuck in the middle of a flooded gravel pit. Which was a bit disappointing by all accounts, yeah. Anyway, this year, it was the Nutcracker. And Gravel wanted to go because she thought it was about a pair of trousers that were too tight. But there are no trousers in it. And Gravel liked that. Particularly the lead dancer, a Russian gentleman called You Put Your Left Leg In. And Gravel really liked the look of him. So every night from then on, she'd be at the stage door asking him to give her a ballet lesson. Every night. And at the end of the run, after the last show, he said, all right. And they went up on stage, and You Put Your Left Leg In, lifted up Gravel. Only man who's ever been able to do that. And threw her up into the air. When she came back down, he'd gone back to Russia. That's how she hurt her back. Oh. But Christmas in Swansea, everybody gets involved. The gas board, they even do an Advent gas bill. Yeah, 1st of December, you get the bill. Then a reminder every day until Christmas Day, when they cut your gas off. And there's Santa's grotto in a real cave down on the Gower Peninsula. And the atmosphere is great when the tide is out. But when the tide comes in... Well, put it like this. When Santa says, what would you like for Christmas? What most of them say is, I'd like to get out of here alive, please, Santa. So, Christmas Day arrives and we had it at Nan's. You know, just the family and Gravel and old Mr. Gacky, because Nan feels sorry for him. And Nan had made soup out of last year's Christmas decorations. And she'd made Christmas crackers as well. You know, because she comes from that generation, make, do and mend. In fact, they were last year's crackers that she'd mended. They didn't go bang, they sort of went... The gifts of the crackers were good. Mum got a dressing gown. Gravel got a nightie. But she wasn't very pleased about that. She said to me later, Siadwel, whoever I'm in bed with, I wear them. Out. Yeah, Gravel, she's got this sex drive. And every night, her car's parked all the way along it. And, as usual, Gravel drank too much of Nan's mulled wine. It's got cloves in it, but when you take the vest and pants, another cloves out. It's quite nice, actually. Anyway, after dinner, of course, there's another tradition, isn't there, at Christmas, for everyone to get round and play a board game, you know, Cluedo or Monopoly or something. But this year, Nan had got a new one. Catherine Zeta-Jones, the board game. But when old Mr. Gacky saw it, let's just say it took the rest of the evening to clean up the mess. Cheerio!
Siadwel was written and performed by John Sparks and produced by Pete Bakey. It was an Absolutely production for BBC Radio Wales.
Oh, Siadwel, you are hopeless.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Siadwel.
Oh, Siadwel, you're all wet again.
Hello. I had my first cup of tea at Uncle Nog's funeral. He has one every year. a funeral. No, he likes all the singing and people saying nice things about him, you know. As he says, what's the point of having a funeral when you're dead and can't enjoy it? And after the service, of course, there were refreshments, and I was only little, and I saw all the adults drinking tea, and I wanted to be like them. So, I must have had 5 or 6 cups. Didn't really like it. And, in fact, it wasn't until years later that I discovered that tea doesn't actually have to be stone cold with cigarettes floating in it. Yeah. No, that was a turning point for me, that was. And all thanks to Shenkin Oystermouth, who runs a cafe in Swansea. Yeah, he's called Shenkin Oystermouth, not because he's from Oystermouth, but because he's got a mouth like an oyster. So whenever I'm out and it starts raining, I pop into his cafe, so most days, really. Well, oh, hello, Shenkin, how are you? Oh, good. Yeah, I will. I'll have a cup of tea, please, Shenkin, thanks. Yeah, no, it's good. It's a good cafe, a taste of Swansea. It's just, proper Welsh cooking, nothing foreign or English, like curry or pizza, that sort of thing. Just Welsh cuisine. Chips. Chip soup for starters. Chips for main course, and then, of course, for pudding, chocolate chip cookie. Without the chocolate. And Shenkin grows all his own potatoes, because, as he says, he likes to eat his own produce. Yeah, it doesn't sound very nice, really, when you think. Don't think about it. But mostly I go in there for a cup of tea, and that's Welsh as well, milk. From Welsh cows, tea and sugar from a warehouse in Llansamlet. Because, as I think I've said before, you can get anything you want in Llansamlet. And Shenkin's got cafes all over Wales. It tastes of Aberystwyth, taste of Llandudno. The only one that never really worked was a taste of Saunders Foot. Never got any customers, really. But the thing I think about Shenkin is, despite being such a successful businessman, he's quite depressed because he's never had a girlfriend. Don't know why. Tea, Siadwel! Oh, thanks, Shenkin. Got a girlfriend yet? No. Yeah, I think my favourite drink is definitely a cup of tea. And my least favourite is the glass of water I have to get up for in the middle of the night. There's something about darkness that brings out the worst in things. It's only at night in the dark that you discover the true spiteful nature of furniture. Yeah, no, that chair that I sat on only this afternoon, flicking through an old Welshman. No. Oh, amazing headline. I don't know if you remember it. Now, with a wall collapse caused by burrowing rabbis. Yeah. Oh, typing error it was. It was a well that collapsed, not a wall. Anyway, that chair. Now's its chance in the dark to jab you in the kneecap as you go past. So there you are, hopping about in pain. Whatever you do, don't try sitting on the chair. Only a complete idiot tries sitting on a chair that's gone bad in the dark. So I sat down. And sure enough, just as I hadn't thought, it wasn't there. And going downstairs in the dark is no better because there's always one more step than you thought. And going back up, there's always one less. And I've tried counting them, but I can't walk and count at the same time. Not like my dad. Oh, my dad is brilliant at counting. You know how, when you're little, your dad would tell you a story at bedtime? Well, my dad didn't know any stories, so instead, he used to count out loud. 1, 2, 3. And the next one, all that, yeah. And he'd say, Siadwel, he'd say, where did we get to last night? And I'd say, 53. And he'd carry on from there. 54, 55, 56. Oh, and the most exciting bit, I can still remember it now, was when he got to 99. Now, I hope I'm not spoiling it for anyone. No, but what happens after 99 is 100. Oh, I just didn't see it coming. I was so excited I wet the bed. It was brilliant. Oh. Anyway, I was talking about going downstairs in the dark. And I know I could turn the light on, but although I'm scared of the dark, I'm more scared of the electric bill. Yeah, and I'm not the only one. Old Mr. Gacky up the road, he keeps his eyes shut from 6 o'clock every evening. To 6 in the morning. He says if he can't see how dark it is, he's not tempted to turn the light on. So. Yeah. Another reason I don't like the dark is when I'm asleep at night, I dribble. When I wake up, my face is all sticky, and I'm really worried that the saliva is going to start digesting my face. Because I think that's what happened to Gravel. Oh, yeah, Gravel, she loves the dark.
Oh, yeah. I do love the dark. It's more romantic, innit? Because in the dark, nobody can see what I'm doing. And nobody can see who's doing it to them either. Know what I mean, Siadwel?
Yeah, I did know what she meant.
Yeah, in a bedroom now, I've got to be really dark. And it've got to have the window open as well. Otherwise, how am I going to get in?
Yeah, in the morning, I'd always know that Gravel had called from the dental records, if nothing else. You know, teeth marks on my leg, that sort of thing. And she smokes in bed. Not cigarettes, friction. When I was little, I used to be afraid there might be something under the bed. Now I'm afraid there might be something in the bed. Yeah. So I really look forward to the alarm clock going off. It's a second-hand one, so it's quite difficult to tell what the time actually is. But if I can hear the man downstairs clearing his throat, I know it's time to get up. Yeah. No, I don't really like having him in bed, but... No, but Gravel says he's company for the milkman, so... There we go. Yeah, most mornings I don't have a cup of tea at home, because most mornings there aren't enough cups. So what I usually do is pop into Schenkin's cafe, and the other day when I did it, something was up. Schenkin was really excited. I was glad I was wearing my anorak. What is it, Schenkin? Date! Schenkin Oystermouth had got a date with Worm's Head Lorraine. No, she's called Worm's Head Lorraine, not because she's from Worm's Head, but because she's got a head like a worm. Perfect for Schenkin Oystermouth. So they were going to go and see a film at the Llansamlet Odious. Yeah, they haven't got 3D. In fact, they haven't got 2D either. No, they were thinking of putting it in. They were going, 2D or not 2D. Yeah, then yeah, like that, they didn't bother, you know. So it's just D. Anyway, they were showing Goodbye, Mr. Chips, which is Schenkin's favourite film, so... It's great for him, really good, you know. It's funny how excited Schenkin was about having a girlfriend, because, you know, I've had a girlfriend most of my life, and with Gravel, the novelty's worn off. It's not the only thing that's worn off. pattern on the front of my pyjamas is gone as well. You know, yeah. I'd rather be on my own. Really, you know, when I was little, I used to spend so much time on my own that Mum said, Siadwel, why don't you join a club? I said, all right, what club should I join? And she said, one that does something you like. So I joined a club for people who like being on their own. I went to the first meeting, nobody there. So after that, I went every week. I still go. No, I still go. It's well worth the annual subscription. No, I spent so much time on my own that they were going to send me to see a child psychologist. I thought, well, surely a psychologist who's an adult would be better. But it never happened anyway, so, you know, it didn't matter. The only person I ever saw a lot of was Nan. And she used to tell me nursery rhymes. Oh, I loved them. My absolute favourite. My absolute favourite. Well, I'll do it now. I'm sure you all know it. Here we are. 1, 2, 3. Mother caught a flea. Put it in the teapot to make a cup of tea. Flea jumped out. Mother gave a shout. And then came a policeman with his shirt hanging out. Oh, it's a really old one. I'm sure you all know it. And I wanted to know what happens next. But it stops there. So years later, I wrote 2 more verses just to find out how the story ends. So here we go. Second verse that I wrote this time. 1, 2, 3. Policeman caught a flea. Took it to the station to put in custody. The flea hopped out. Policeman gave a shout. And in came the sergeant saying, hey, Phantom of the Opera's all sold out. Yeah. Oh, very important that. Remember that bit. Remember that. Okay, last verse. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Sergeant caught a flea. Taught it how to sing in perfect harmony. Record came out. Fans all gave a shout. And the flea bought the teapot. Now it's living up the spout. Yes! Yeah. Oh, happy ending. Happy, because the sergeant, who loves musical theatre, recognises the flea's got a great voice. And the record... Born flea. Well, it had to be, didn't it, really? You know. Anyway, if it wasn't for Nan, I'd never have written those last 2 verses. She said a lovely thing the other day, Nan. She told me that the reason she'd married an older man was because she didn't want children. But she did want grandchildren. Nice to feel wanted, isn't it? Not by the police, obviously, like Gary Price. Apparently, his first words as a baby were, I'm not saying anything till my solicitor gets here. Yeah. Anyway, it's always nice to see Nan. Hello, Nan. Fancy a cup of tea?
Oh, are you having one, Siadwel?
I will if you are, Nan.
Oh, I'm not sure if I fancy one.
Oh, well, better leave it then. I'll just make one for myself, is it?
Oh, well, if you're having one, I might as well have one.
No. Not if you don't want one, Nan.
Well, I don't really. There's no point in making a pot just for one person, is there?
No, there isn't, no. I won't have one then, Nan.
Yes, I think that's for the best, Siadwel.
Yeah, Nan knows best.
That's right.
So after a game of Scrabble, where for some reason the only words I got were cup, tea and of, I went home. But on the way, I just popped into Taste of Swansea, you know, cup of tea, and find out how Shenkin's date with Worm's Head Lorraine had gone. Well, Shenkin summed it up in one word. Disaster. Yes, it was a disaster, and it had all gone really well until right at the end, Shenkin kissed Lorraine goodnight. Because, you know, what with Shenkin having a mouth like an oyster and Lorraine having a head like a worm, there was just so much mucus. That they stuck together. And they spent the rest of the night in accident and emergency, being separated by doctors. So they're not going to see each other again, which is a shame because they really bonded. Yeah, which was part of the problem, really. But looking on the bright side, Shenkin's got another date with a girl called Susan Cockermouth. Yeah, and she's called that because she is actually from Cockermouth in Cumbria. Yeah. Okay, that's it. So before I go, I must just tell you, I've got this friend that... Oh, actually, no, I haven't. No, okay, never mind. Hey, cheerio. Okay, well, that was called A Nice Cup of Tea. And before I do the next one, I'm just going to read a poem for you. So this poem is called A Cautionary Tale. Round and round the garden, like an angry wasp. A sting you, doff you go to hosp. Okay, next story now. This one is called Ill. All right, let's start with the poem. It's a haiku, very short. It's called Bad News from the Doctor. A patient who thinks he's a Welsh seaside resort is told, yes, you're ill. Rhyl, the only place in Wales that's a medical condition. Oh. Now, Nan. My Nan is terrified of stairs. Because Nan's mum, that's Mam's Nan, fell down the stairs. And Nan's Nan, that's Mam's Nan's mum, fell down the stairs. And Nan is worried that falling downstairs might be genetic. And you might say, well, that's daft, because that sort of thing has nothing to do with genetics. But then, sure enough, Nan fell down the stairs. Even though she lives in a bungalow. Yeah. Anyway, Nan had to go into the John Thomas Memorial Hospital and... Yeah, half of Swansea have had medical treatment in the John Thomas. Then they went with her, for moral support. And she had to have an X-ray. And I don't like hospitals, but it's quite interesting what goes on. While we were there in the X-ray department, there was a bit of a panic because Swansea's fattest man had got stuck in the MRI scanner. No, the doctors were worried. They didn't think he'd pull through. Anyway, Nan was okay. She'd broken every bone in her body, but apart from that, she was fine. So she went home and she finds that every bone in her body being broken, she's a lot more flexible now. Easier to do the housework, She can hoover underneath things she couldn't before. Anyway, I was glad she didn't have to stay in hospital because the less you have to do with doctors, the better, really. My last experience wasn't very good. Started off all right. Doctor asked me what was wrong, and I said, well, it's a bit embarrassing, really. And he said, bit of a problem downstairs, is it? And I was amazed, because there was a bit of a problem downstairs. And I said, yes, there is. And he said, OK, front or back? And I said, well, mostly it's round the back. And he went, all right then, drop your trousers and pants and let's have a look. And I thought, but he is a doctor. I suppose it's all right. Incidentally, talking of trousers, here's an odd thing. When I was little, I wore long trousers. And when I was much bigger, I wore short trousers. Which is strange, because it was the same pair of trousers. Anyway, the doctor went round and started looking at my bottom, and he said, so, what sort of thing is happening? And I said, well, mostly it's noise, really. It wakes me up at night sometimes. And he said, what sort of noise? I said, a sort of rrr, rrr, when the man downstairs parks his motorbike in the passage. Suddenly it all went quiet. The doctor said, get out. I didn't even have time to pull my trousers up or tell him about my sweaty elbows, which is why I'd gone to see him in the first place. Oh, I don't trust doctors. So when my girlfriend Gravel started behaving strangely, even for her, I was a bit worried for all sorts of reasons. It started when I came back one afternoon and she'd eaten a hot dog. Fully grown Alsatian she'd cooked in the oven. That was a bit much, even for Gravel. And then there were complaints about her work. Now, Gravel used to drive a Mr. Whippy van, but then she changed the Mr. Whippy to Mistress Whippy. The business just took off. Suddenly had a completely different set of customers. And you know how at the back of the van where it says caution children, now it says caution middle-aged men. Yeah, doesn't sell much ice cream, but makes a lot of money. It's funny, isn't it, really? But then the smell started. Now, Gravel has always smelt. In fact, Gravel's smell was the first thing I noticed about her. It's like a farmyard. But I like animals, so that was okay. No, Gravel's usual smell is, well, the nicest thing about her, really. Not offensive. Her appearance is, yes. I saw her once without any clothes on, just by accident, and it gave me nightmares. For weeks afterwards, I had to sleep with the light on. If she's sunbathing down by Swansea Bay, the tide won't come in till she's dressed and gone home. Too scared. Anyway, the old smell had gone, and the new one, well, it was indescribable. Let's see if I can describe it. It was a bit like standing next to a bin lorry on a hot day. It was like opening a cake tin, expecting it to be full of Welsh cakes, and there's a full baby's nappy in there instead. I know. If everybody here thinks of the worst smell they've ever smelt, that add all the smells together, that's what it was like. And it was as if the smell was alive. It would follow you about. I could almost hear it rasping against the wallpaper as it followed me up the stairs. It would go into town on the bus. Always came back. I didn't know what to do. Obviously, I didn't want to suggest going to the doctor. I was at my wit's end, which doesn't take very long, really, to be honest. Then suddenly there was a knock at the door. At first I thought it was the smell mucking about. But it wasn't. It was the vicar. And he looked straight at me and he said, "The glory of his nostrils is terrible." Job 39, verse 20. And I said, "Oh, you better come in then." Well, when Gravel saw the vicar, she went really peculiar. Her head started going round and round. And she was growling, which was a bit rude, I thought. But the vicar wasn't put off. And he laid his hands on Gravel, wearing thick gloves, obviously. And after about half a minute, he turned to me and he said, "What we've got here is a case of demonic possession. And what's possessing Gravel is the demonic spirit of Rhyl." And he said the only cure would be for Gravel to go and drink the healing waters of the holy well of St. Although most people just call it the not very well. Yeah, St. Not many people have heard of him. He's probably the unluckiest of all the saints, because not only did he have a rather odd name, but he also had every disease known to man. And quite a few known to animals as well. And the legend of St. Well is that he was a wandering hermit, and he stopped briefly behind a bush at the top of a hill, and when he moved on, there was a damp patch on the grass. And that's where the holy well is now. So that's how we came to be climbing up Taken Hill. It's called that because so many people have been taken hill trying to get to the top of it. But up we went, and I had the wind in my face. I shouldn't have let Gravel go in front, really, but that's how it was. And it was really cold, and I wasn't wearing my new anorak because I can't understand the controls. No, my first anorak I ever had, I had one zip, one pair of toggles. The one I've got now, the new one, it's covered in zips and flaps and toggles and poppers and pockets where you don't expect them. I put a sandwich in one of those pockets and I couldn't find it again. My sandwich is still in there somewhere, lost inside the anorak. You know, I think I'm getting anorexia. It's like anorexia, where you don't want to eat food, but in anorexia, you don't want to wear your anorak. So, by the time we got to the top of the hill, I was freezing. And I know you probably don't believe in healing wells and all that, but the not very well does work. No, there have been miraculous cures. One old gentleman who'd lost his memory, drank the water, suddenly remembered he'd left the gas on. Unfortunately, rushing home to turn it off, he was run over by a bus. So I do think with these holy wells, sometimes the cure is worse than the disease. Perhaps that's why Saint never cured himself. But it's very popular. And there's a visitor centre where you can buy all sorts of things. They've got a Catherine Zeta-Jones doll with glow-in-the-dark healing hands and the Dylan Thomas toy that spits holy water in your face when you squeeze it. It's not just tat for tourists, tat for everybody. Anyway, we got to the well and Gravel made her wish and drank the water and... Actually, I let Gravel tell you what happened in her own words. Yeah, that's pretty much what she said. And she looked a lot better, which isn't saying much, I know, but there you go. And then I thought, I'd have a go, because by now I was absolutely frozen solid, so I drank the water and wished that I could be nice and warm. And it did sort of work, because I was violently sick all down the front of my jumper. And it was quite warm. Then I noticed a little sign that said, "This well is maintained by contributions from the public." And I looked down the hole, and sure enough, there were some of the contributions the public had made. Floating in the water, yeah. Then we went home. All right, let's finish now with another little poem. This one is called Don't. Don't wear open-toed sandals, because it's cruel to toads.
That's it. Cheerio.
Siadwel was written and performed by John Sparks and produced by Pete Bakey. It was an Absolutely production for BBC Radio Wales.
Oh, Siadwel, you are hopeless.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Siadwel.
Oh, Siadwel, you're all wet again.
Hello. You know we were getting old when a day to remember is just that. All you do is sit there remembering. I'm not there yet, though. But I do think about the past quite a lot. I think my most vivid childhood memory was going into school one day and seeing written on the wall, "Siadwel never was." I couldn't believe it. I mean, wasn't I? Because I thought I was. But perhaps I was wrong and I wasn't. But then, if I wasn't, who'd done my geography homework? Then I remembered I hadn't done my geography homework. Then I thought, no, whoever wrote the graffiti had remembered my name. So I was, after all. But then I thought, no, if I could remember something that hadn't happened, like me not doing my geography homework, perhaps the graffiti writer had also remembered something that hadn't happened. Me. Oh, it was a puzzle. Anyway, the next day was the school photograph. Not the buildings, just the staff and the pupils, And yeah, the traditional way. I thought, yeah, that's great, because the photograph will definitely show that I was. So everybody got together for the photograph, and we all had to stand still while the camera moved round. And somebody said, if you stood on the end and then ran round the back to the other end, you could be in the photograph twice. So I did that, but I started at the wrong end. So I wasn't in the photograph at all. So, not only did I not prove that I existed, but I did it twice. So I didn't know what to think, but that's okay, because I'm used to that. When I went home, I just wrote it down on the list of things that I don't understand, like, why don't plumbers sell plums? Wasn't a posh school with a difficult entrance exam or anything. No, the only entrance exam at our school was, if you can open the door, you're in. Although I did fail that on my first attempt. Yeah, they're very strong on discipline, though. Everybody was caned, even the teachers. But one boy, because of a tragic spelling mistake, he was canned. And when we opened him 6 months later, he was still fresh. So he went in the school dinner, I expect, you know. No, spelling is really important. It's the only way that you know the difference between words, really, is how they're spelt. In fact, it's so important, I wrote a poem about it called The Difference. Here it is. What is the difference between an abattoir and an abattoir? With one of them, everybody comes out singing their favourite song. And with the other one, they don't. Yeah, if you remember only one thing from tonight, you know, abattoir, just that one. It's different as chalk and cheese, which is not a great sandwich filler, by the way. No, I did tell Mum, but it didn't make any difference. And of course, Gary Price had to be at the same school as me, didn't he? And the first thing Gary Price would always say to me was, "What's your problem?" I used to wonder perhaps if he might be a psychotherapist one day, you know. And I was half right, because he isn't a psychotherapist. But he is a psychopath, yeah. Yeah, no, a few years ago, there was a series of shark attacks in Swansea Bay. Gary Price, it was. Now the sharks are too scared to come into the bay. And it's such a shame, because sharks are quite nice, you know, some of them, not the great white, I suppose, but the great wholemeal is very good for you. Oh, it's a very healthy shark, that one. But anyway, everybody at school learned to swim in the primary school. We all went to the baths, and because I hadn't got any swimming trunks, they lent me an old pair that were just lying about. And the lifeguard said, "Now, Siadwel, the man who wore those trunks last had quite a nasty rash. So don't get too close to anybody else." So, got into the water. The brace on my teeth was so heavy, I went straight to the bottom. And I suppose, you know, I must have been drowning, because I could see my whole life passing in front of my eyes. And I was really getting into the story, you know, and hoping I might see where I left the key to my locker back in the changing room. But just before I got to that bit, I floated back up to the surface. And what had happened was, the chlorine in the water was so strong, it had dissolved all the metal in my brace. So I didn't drown, but I didn't find the key to my locker either, so I had to go home wearing the swimming trunks. And I suppose it must have looked a bit odd, you know, in the middle of December, because the police stopped me. And by now I was absolutely freezing. And I told the policeman I thought I might be suffering from exposure. So he arrested me for exposing myself. He didn't have any choice, did he, really? Oh. Anyway, by the end of the year, we'd all learned to swim. We had a swimming gala, you know, lots of races. And I said, "Do you mind if I don't join in, because I don't really like races?" And they said, "Siadwel, that's racist." So I had to join in, and I came 9th out of 6. No, because I was still wearing the same trunks, and I remembered that I mustn't get too close to anybody else. But it wasn't all bad at school, you know. There were happy memories. In fact, I think my happiest memory was on my very first day at infant school. And there we all were in the hall, all the children shouting and crying and laughing and everything. The teacher looked across at me, and she said the words I'll never forget. "Siadwel, special knees." She must have been a really good teacher to notice that through my trousers and everything, you know. And I had to go into a different classroom to everyone else. It's quite right. Because, you know, they didn't have special knees. They just had ordinary knees. They didn't do anything. No, I mean, you know, I expect if I'd been in the same classroom as them, nobody'd have paid any attention to the lesson, because they'd all be looking at my special knees. Next day, when I went into school, I'd cut 2 holes in my trousers. so my knees could see out. And at break time, I went round the playground, pointing at my legs and saying, hey, special knees. And they all said, yeah, Siadwel, we know. It happened to you as well, didn't it? Yeah, so that was my happiest memory. And I suppose my earliest memory is of Grandad telling the story of when they went to Cardiff for a match. And I thought, I was only little at the time, it's a long way to go to light a cigarette. Anyway, off they went, Grandad and his friends, and they drank loads of beer, and one of them, Scott, that's Scott Shegg, who went on to invent the Scotch egg. Yeah, well, Scott, he passed out. So they carried him back to the hotel, and they got him undressed. They got his false teeth out. The Grandad said, ideally, they should have got him back to his room as well, you know. But you can't think of everything, can you? You know. Anyway, next day, Scott was absolutely furious. He was hopping mad because, apparently, he didn't have false teeth. He does now, obviously. Yeah. It's funny how I can remember that story, but other things, no. So I wasn't really looking forward to it at school when it was my turn to see the careers teacher. We used to call him Old Bumface. Not to his face, obviously. To his face, we called him Mr. Bumface. Because that was his name. Anyway, yeah, when he saw me, he just shook his head and said, Siadwel, you'll never amount to anything. And I've remembered that advice. And I haven't. Gary Price, he hasn't done any better. For a while, he was a police dog handler. Then the police caught him doing it and he had to stop. Yeah. My last memory of school, really, was my last day, which was also the headmaster's last day, because he was retiring. And he made a speech when he started off, ladies and gentlemen, and Siadwel. So he knew my name, that was nice. And he went on to say all sorts of things, but he said that we might have noticed that during his time at the school, there'd been a lot more graffiti on the walls. And he knew who'd been doing it. It was him. Yeah. Then he said, in your life, it's important to find something you love doing. And in his life, nothing had given him more pleasure than writing, Mr. Chemistry Thomas is a fat git. And Gary Price's mum is a prostitute. On the playground wall. I must say, I quite like that last one as well. Then he mentioned my one. Siadwel never was. And what had happened, turned out, was because somebody was coming, he wasn't able to finish it. And then he quite liked it, so he left it as it was. And then Gary Price, of course, put his hand up and said, well, what should it have been then if it was finished? And he told us, Siadwel never washes. I know, I couldn't believe it. I mean, on the one hand, at least I was. But on the other hand, he said I didn't wash. I washed every day. Because I know it was something that Mum had never shown me how to do, but that was okay because I'd seen how animals keep themselves clean. So every morning, before going to school, I'd lick myself all over. And then the headmaster finished his speech with some advice for everyone. He said, in this life, it's better to make a mark than to do what Siadwel did and leave a stain. Then it was over. I felt a bit down after that, I must say. But as I came out of school, a dog stopped to sniff my leg. And then he followed me home, so I felt a bit better. All right, finished now with another poem. It's another one about spelling mistakes, so I've called it A Spelling Mistake. Here we go. Here it is. The young men came from near and far for happy hour in my Vanwy's bra. Cheerio. That was graffiti. But before the next story, I'm just going to read a quick poem. This poem is called Shovel. I bought my love a shovel for her to dig a hole. She dug it deep and threw me in. Yes, dug it deep and threw me in. Oh, dug it deep and threw me in. Which was completely unacceptable behaviour, really. Okay, next story now. This one is called The Birds. I was very popular at school. Almost every day they'd say, Siadwel, can we play football with you? Then later on, Mum would collect me from the hospital. Oh! It was great fun, great. But definitely the best thing that happened was when it was my class's turn to do the nativity play. And Miss said, Siadwel, I want you to be the little baby Jesus' father. Joseph. No. God. What you got to remember, Siadwel? Nobody ever sees God. So when the play is on in the hall, I want you to go out in the playground and hide behind the bins. And every now and then, I want you to peep out and then go back behind the bins again. And if anyone asks you what you're doing, just say that you are God, moving in mysterious ways. So I did that, and it was all right, apart from being struck by lightning. Of course, this was a made-up story instead of real life. I'd have superpowers from being struck by lightning, and I was thinking the superpower I would really like to have had back then would be that everybody had a hole in their jumper, an egg down the front of it, so I wasn't the only one. Oh, I'd have another one. The power to speak Welsh. Because English was my second language, but I didn't have a first language. And everybody was learning Welsh, but I just couldn't get the hang of it. In fact, the only Welsh I learned was the Welsh word for carrots. Moron. Suppose I heard the word so often, it just sort of stuck, really, you know. But that was ages ago, and right now I was on my way to Nan's for tea. Thursday, sardines on toast. Great. Hello, Nan.
Oh, Siadwel. Now, I couldn't get sardines anywhere.
Oh, never mind, Nan.
But he likes a cup of tea, don't you, Siadwel?
Oh, I love a cup of tea, Nan. Milk and 2 sugars, you know me.
That's right, Siadwel. Milk and 2 sugars. So instead of sardines, I put milk and 2 sugars on your toast.
Oh, you're spoiling me, Nan. But I was shocked. Nan not being able to get a tin of sardines in the shops. Because if there's one thing Nan is really good at, it's shopping. I don't really understand shops. I was in a shop the other day and they had waterproof clothing and pencils and non-stick frying pans. And quite honestly, there's no comparison. So I'd recommend pencils because they're the cheapest. Anyway, I was still thinking about the sardines when I noticed that Nan had picked up a Welshman in the newsagents. And there it was on page 2 of the Welshman from the tinned food correspondent saying you couldn't get sardines in Swansea for love nor money. Although I don't think Nan had tried the first one, which is probably just as well, really. But the strange thing was, it was only in Swansea that you couldn't get sardines. Although they did mention you could still get sardines in Llansamlet. But that didn't surprise me, because you know what they say, you can get anything you want in Llansamlet. But the main story on page 1 was all about the seagull problem. Oh, the seagulls are an absolute nightmare in Swansea. Mostly they prey on tourists. I don't mean they kneel on their heads and ask for forgiveness. That would be quite nice. No, what they do, they swoop down and steal food. They take anything except kebabs. No, they've learned the hard way. It's not called the magic kebab van for nothing. If you eat one of their kebabs, it will magically reappear later on in the evening. Usually on the floor of the bus on the way home. But what the Welshman was saying was that the seagulls had stopped taking food. Now they were stealing money instead. Just snatching it out of people's hands. And they were particularly bad around the slot machines on the pier. And the slot machines are one of Swansea's main tourist attractions. They're fantastic. The mechanical Dull and Thomas. You put 50 pence in its head and it recites a poem, then chucks beer over itself. But my favourite one is called Daylight Robbery. You put the money in, the curtain goes back, and there's nothing there. Oh! I've been caught out by that so many times. It's brilliant. But the seagulls were snatching the coins before people could put them in. Nobody knew what to do. Anyway, a couple of days later, Nan was in the garden having a laugh at the cartoon in the Welshman. It's called Gwilym the Alcoholic Sheep. It's always the same. Someone asks Gwilym where he wants to go, and Gwilym says, "Ba." And he ends up drunk. Yeah, you know, it's not very funny, actually, is it? It's quite sad. But Nan loves it. She loves it. And she was just opening her mouth to go ha, 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 when a seagull swooped down and snatched her false teeth straight out of her mouth. Well, Nan was furious, because those false teeth are a bit special. Because what it is, Nan is a little bit vain, and she didn't want anyone to know that she'd got false teeth. So she got the dentist to make a set that were completely realistic. And they are fantastic. They're stained all over. There's a big gap on one side where 3 teeth are missing. And there's what looks like bits of food stuck in where the gums have receded. Totally convincing. They look hideous, but everyone thinks Nan's got her own teeth, so she's happy. Same with plastic surgery. She wanted it done, but she didn't want anyone to know. So she asked the surgeon to make her look exactly the same. And he did. Brilliant job. Anyway, these were the teeth the seagull had flown off with. It was a disaster. Except it wasn't. Because the dentist knew what Nan is like, always forgetting where she puts things. So he'd added a special feature to the teeth, a radio transmitter. So we could track them down when Nan didn't know where she'd put them. Brilliant. I used it to find the teeth when Nan left them at the slipped disco for over 80s. Another time I found them under the bed of old Mr. Gacky at number 19. That was a bit mysterious. In fact, it reminded me of when I found old Mr. Gacky's chamber pot under Nan's bed. Funny, isn't it? I don't know how these things happen. Anyway, I knew I'd be able to find the teeth, and I turned on the tracking device. And off I went. Well, before long. Actually, what is before long? Short, medium, long. OK, medium. Medium? I was going down to the docks in the direction of the old Welsh National Costume Factory. Empty now. It's a sad story. They used to make millions of Welsh costumes every week. But then they tried cutting costs by making the costumes out of nylon. And so many Welsh folk dancers were being electrocuted by static. They had to stop. And they tried rubber underwear and PVC boots, but the wrong sort of people started to get interested. So the factory closed down and nobody came here at all now except seagulls, and one seagull in particular who'd got Nan's teeth. I went in. It was dark, but there was a light coming from a room at the end. Very quietly, I crept up to the door and put my hand out to open it, when right behind me a voice said, and I recognised the voice. It was Barry Floater. Oh. I'd been at school with him. Yeah, no, it is an odd name, but he's called that because he was found as a baby floating in the sea near Barry Island. So social services called him Barry Floater, you know. And I was the only boy at school who could understand him. It's funny because I couldn't understand Welsh, but I could understand Barry. The teacher said it was because Welsh makes sense and Barry Floater doesn't. Oh, it was great to see Barry again. We'd been in the nativity play together. He was the back end of one of the donkeys in the stable. And he really got into the part, you know. So much so, in fact, he did a poo on the stage. And one of the wise men stepped in it. But that's authentic. It's a stable, you know. Might well have happened when the baby Jesus was born. In fact, you know the gifts the three wise men brought. Gold, frankincense and myrrh. Well, what's myrrh? Nobody knows. And I think what probably happened is Mary said, "Oh, what have you brought the baby Jesus then?" And the wise men said, "Oh, we got gold, frankincense and... what's that on you?" Yeah, on your sandal, you got donkey muck, yes. Anyway, what I wanted to know was what was Barry doing in the factory and where were Nan's teeth? It turned out to be quite a story, but I'll let Barry tell you in his own words. No, all right, I'll do it then. Well, what it was, Barry had turned to crime, and he was the head of the Swansea branch of the MAF. No, because apparently there's a sort of hierarchy. MAF, mafia, mafiist. Mafia, organised crime. Mafiist, well-organised crime. And the MAF, not very well-organised crime. No, Barry said he just couldn't cope with all the paperwork. It was too much. And it was animals he was good with, not people, you know. He was the one who trained the seagulls to steal money, rewarding them with sardines. That's where they'd all gone. Oh! Then he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. A cup of tea and a hobnob. And we sat down together and worked out a plan that he should train the seagulls to pick up litter instead of money and then sell the business to Swansea Council. And after that, if he wanted to work with animals, it was up to him. And that's what happened. And the last I heard of Barry Floater, he was living in the village of Bethlehem, near Llandailo, where he'd opened a stable for retired pantomime horses and donkeys. Oh, and I got Nan's teeth back. They'd been at the bottom of a seagull's nest for a couple of days, but if anything, looked better for it. All right, I'll finish now with another poem, a limerick. You know the sort of thing, limericks. There was a young man from Leeds who swallowed a packet of seeds, all that sort of thing. So here we go with the limerick I wrote. There was a young man from Llanfair Pwchgynnych o Gerwch Robert Llantysilio Gogogoch who got fed up with people at parties saying, "Tell us where you come from," just for a joke. So he smoked and ate pies and took no exercise till a massive stroke paralysed him all down one side, and it's 10 years since the last time he spoke. Yeah. Quite a drastic way of not having to say Llanfair Pwchgynnych o Gerwch Robert Llantysilio Gogogoch. I mean, he could have just moved somewhere with a shorter name, really. Rhyl. Perhaps not Rhyl, no, all right. Never mind. No, last thing, I don't know if anybody else knows this, but Dylan Thomas, the poet, is from Swansea, and one of his most famous poems is called "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night." And the first line of the poem is, "Do not go gentle into that good night." So I'll finish now with my interpretation of that wonderful first line. Do not go gentle into that. Good night.
Siadwel was written and performed by John Sparks and produced by Pete Bakey. It was an Absolutely production for BBC Radio Wales.
Oh, Siadwel, you are hopeless.